At one point or another, we all become patients. From the moment we're born, we place our trust in the hands of a doctor. With any worries about our health, we can turn to our doctors to heal us. But what many of us don't think about is who is taking care of them. During their stressful and long days, doctors are pushed to the edge of life and death. They face daily challenges providing care for patients. Every decision has the potential to heal or to hurt. In the service of others, physicians often forget to care for themselves and work through illness, including mental illness. In resident physicians, the prevalence of depression is 29%, and it is only increasing with every passing year. As it turns out, doctors are often more stressed, more anxious, and more burnt out. The stress and depression faced by doctors places them at an increased risk for suicide. On average, death by suicide is 250 to 400% higher in female physicians than in any other profession. As the expectation within the medical field continues to become more unrealistic, the situation is only getting worse. With the COVID-19 pandemic, doctors are working longer hours under more stressful conditions. One survey found that during the pandemic, the level of psychological distress in physicians was 94%, and poor well-being was registered at 59%. So what can physicians do to combat stress? Let's watch this seminar given by Dr. Mitchell Abrams, a Canadian radiologist who, through his unique experience with medicine, has gained valuable insight on the topic.
Some of the aspects, when you look at medicine, unfortunately, we really don't lead by example. In the context that, here we are, we talk a lot about how to be healthy, but we don't practice health, proactive health skills, that unfortunately creates a bit of a gap. And when you look at the nature of just the degree of stress, the volume involved, it's extremely stressful. It's very anxiety provoking in medicine. You're dealing with life and death. Doctors in particular, when you look at their mental health rates and their suicide rates, suicide has been identified as the only cause of mortality higher among physicians than non-physicians. That's serious stuff, and it's not just by a slight margin. We're talking almost double. There is an issue that has to be dealt with. There's a health crisis within healthcare. Now, mindfulness and meditation, I look at these as techniques for expanding your consciousness, that inner space that you are all experiencing. You're all living in the center of your own universe, okay? And, mindfulness to me is a process where you create a 0 point in your mind. You're not thinking about, future. You're not thinking about the past or things that's bothered you. You are becoming, you're an observer. You're observing your sensations in this particular moment. It's a way to kind of disconnect, except just to connect to this singular moment in time. And it's all done by connecting your thoughts and consciousness to bodily sensations. Because that is the truth of what's happening right now. And using breath, you've probably heard a lot, many techniques use breath to help you tune into this moment. So mindfulness is achieving a state of just observing. And that 0 point, the longer you can sustain that mindfulness and that clear-headedness, the more you're expanding your consciousness, and hence when you kind of come back and reintegrate with the world around you, you've kind of walking around now with this increased capacity to absorb more information. You've created this ability, to increase, let's call it, your memory capacity or your inner consciousness. And you're now able to use that, to increase your intellect, let's say. So that's mindfulness. Meditation, on the other hand, is again another technique that's using your focused concentration on something. Now, it could be, for instance, focusing on an emotion of love. Love is a vibration, it's an energetic frequency. We actually can measure what it does to your heart, what it does to your brain waves when you experience, not just think about love, but it's the experience of that emotion in your body. And you can imagine, you can see how meditation, when you're focusing on that emotion and then absorbing that into your body, using visualization and imagination, those are forms of meditation. Now the heart creates a rhythm, and you can imagine, the rhythms can be really irregular, or you can have a very nice, regular, oscillating, heart rhythm. And it turns out that what you're experiencing emotionally actually affects your heart rhythms. So if you're angry, or you're in a state of fear or anxiety, you're upset with anything, these are considered, energy consuming emotions. And what happens is it causes the heart rhythms to become very irregular. And the reason why this is important is because we know that the heart actually contains brain cells. The same cells that are, that create the neuronal connections in our nervous system, the central nervous system, are also found within the heart. They act the exact same way. And so what happens is the heart has these irregular rhythms, and it sends that signal via the neurons up back into the brain, and then those signals are then transferred throughout the brain. And so if you have a very irregular rhythm, it actually prevents your brain from functioning at its optimal state. Research shows that people, who feel connected and trust and believe in their health practitioners have a better prognosis. So this science of connection, how to connect, and it's not just the words that we say. Those who study linguistics and communication will tell you that, how we communicate, only 10% of it is through our words. The rest of it is all nonverbal. And so we have to start thinking in these terms of what type of energy are we sending out into the world? What are we sending to our patients? And that has a profound effect. Just like working your muscles out for a month or two at the gym, your brain structurally changes and you will feel different. Your body will physiologically not react in the same way when external stresses come to you. Even the DNA itself gets changed and and gets restructured through the power of concentration and your consciousness, using it as a tool. As a general rule of thumb, I would say the easiest thing, and how I've started, was first thing in the morning. If it just means for you to wake up 20 minutes earlier, just so that you can have that moment in the morning before you get totally bogged down with stress and all the daily stuff that's coming at you, that's going to fill your head and it's going to get your mind racing. Before any of that happens, you have an opportunity to sit down in silence and tune in. Now, what does that do? One, very quickly, you will experience a difference. Inevitably, and I tell everybody, in our workshops, hey, if you think this is all woo-foo and everything, that's fine. Don't listen to me. I don't care. But take 5 minutes. You try it yourself. Because if you don't have time, if you don't even have 5 minutes for yourself, who do you think is going to really want to care for you?
In our society, we view doctors as being all-knowing and almost more than human, but at the end of the day, they are normal people like you and me. They are also affected by stress, and so we need to consider the importance of their mental health, reduce the stigma, and keep the conversation going.